Good morning, good afternoon, bonjour, everyone. On behalf of the KDE Hub, we're truly delighted to welcome you to our 2025 KDE Hub Annual Symposium, it's themed Changing Landscapes, which invites us to reflect on both the terrain that we navigate and the transformations that we help lead. Whether you're joining us from urban centers, rural communities, or remote regions, we're grateful that you've arrived. Shared space of reflection, discovery, and collective action. My name is Alice Schmidt-Hanbidge, and along with my colleague, Dr. Colleen McMillan. Hi, Colleen. We are the scientific directors of the KDE Hub located at Renison University College at the University of Waterloo. We're pleased to serve as your symposium co-chairs. While we've met many of you along the way through webinars at conferences or past events that we've hosted, we're excited to share time over these next 2 days of connecting and learning with all of you. And you'll be hearing from us throughout these next 2 days. On behalf of the KDE Hub, and before we delve into the content of our event, we'd like to acknowledge the land that we're virtually gathering on today at Renison College, affiliated with the University of Waterloo, and the land which is located on the ancestral, the unceded territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Attawandaron peoples of the Haldimand Tract. The land was promised to 6 nations and includes 10 kilometers on either side of the Grand River from mouth to source. We recognize that you're joining us from across this country, and we invite you now to say hello in the chat and let us know where you're located. At the Hub, we're intentional in supporting mental health and well-being in ways that respect Indigenous perspectives and knowledges. We acknowledge the impacts and ongoing impacts of colonization and remain committed to inclusion, reconciliation, and healing. We recognize that much work needs to be done in advancing decolonization and reconciliation, and we commit both individually and collectively to do this work. We also acknowledge that June is National Indigenous History Month, and on June 21st, we celebrate National Indigenous Peoples Day. It's a time to learn, to unlearn, to listen, and to lift up Indigenous cultures, voices, and contributions. It's also a time to deepen our commitment to equity, to relationship building, and respectful dialogue. So we're honored to begin our gathering with Elder Mayingan Henry, who joins us today to bring greetings. Elder Henry is Anishinaabe and a member of Deshkin Zibing, and he serves as the Indigenous Knowledge Keeper at the University of Waterloo's Faculty of Health. We're thrilled he's here today with us, and he provides strategic leadership in response to the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action. He brings deep experience and leadership and passion in ceremony, in healing. He just performed a wedding on Saturday, environmental protection and reconciliation. We're humbled and grateful for your presence, for your presence, Elder Henry, and appreciative of our relationship with you. Welcome, Elder Henry.
Thank you so much. It's just an honor to be here today. And the opening was beautiful. You know, when you think about the land and the people who have always lived on this land, there's always a deep dedication to the well-being of all that live on this land. And I think from our creation stories across the nation, we can all feel that wealth of love that this earth has to offer for every one of us. Here in Waterloo, we've made a huge dedication to supply the knowledge and need for all those to have that balance in life. So in order to begin this conversation, the learning that's going to take place over the next couple of days, is I'd like to put your minds into a place that's just beautiful. If there's a chance that you've got a chance to be near a fire, like maybe camping or in an outing, and being in nature where you can hear the world around you, all of the wind and the water and all the beautiful sounds of the birds and whatever sounds Creator brings for us. If we can kind of put our minds there for a second to think about how nice it is to sit on Mother Earth, what we like to do at the beginning of these gatherings and these meetings of our minds is like our elders would say, let's start a fire. Let's have this fire that warms our heart, that gives us a chance to feel that comfort. And the sounds of a crackling fire, it's just tremendous. If you know that sound, it's really, really comforting. So in order for us to talk about this important issue, let's put our minds and hearts in a good spot. And so by this fire, I'd like to add the first log, which will be the one that will start the process of today's conversation. And we'll let this fire burn throughout the whole 2 days. We'll make sure that it's looked after. We'll have a fire keeper near that fire so it's done in a respectful way. And inside that fire, though, um, imagine all of your conversations over the next 2 days around that fire, and those stories that you'll hear, the issues that we might have to uh, work with will be collected within that fire. That fire has a very, very important role in maintaining that balance of all that we can understand. Our Creator gave us this opportunity to understand life, and what we do with that life is to grow and to learn. All the nations around this world, all Indigenous people can, I think, feel that same wealth of knowledge that we all can have a purpose, which will be such a beautiful thing if we come back to that ceremony once in a while. And really, that's what ceremonies are about: being near the fire, finding that comfort, building new friends and knowledge, and to grow together to make a better world for all. So with today, we like to add to that fire a little bit of medicine. And what we would do is we would all take some of that medicine that we call sama in our language, and that's tobacco. And the tobacco will send our thoughts and prayers up to our Creator and to our ancestors. And so what we do is we add that tobacco to the fire, and maybe for the next couple of days, to be able to speak to each other with open mind, heart, and spirit, to take some of the smudge that we would say in one of our language, we would say mashko de wish, which is the sage. And we would wash our eyes so we see better, our mouth so we speak better, our ears so we hear better, our heart so we feel the empathy that we know that's out in the world. And so as we begin today, um, sometimes the elders will come by the fire and they will tell us a story or two, which begins our opportunity to share. And today, I would just like to invite an elder that says, and taught for many years, that says when we look at the water that we see around us in our lakes and our rivers, inside that water, there's special spirits and beings, the fish life, the swimmers that have a very important role to all of creation. So we think about what's in that water and how important that water is for us to use in our bodies so that we can have sustenance. And we take that water and we wash ourselves and we use it for various things. So we have to honor the water as a very sacred item. So we think about water being, even in its magnificence, the I guess the challenge sometimes is to see what's in that water and not know what's there. But we know that there's something very special about that water, and it comes with the observations that there is a wealth within the water that we have. And then if we can move our eyes up toward the land and maybe on the shore, what you'll see on that shore is trees and grass. And on that land, there'll even be the fire that I'm talking about. You'll see it from the water looking on the land. And it's such a nice view to watch people walking on that land in comfort. They say we need to walk softly on our mother, the earth. And as we do, we give her the love and respect that she does for us every single day. Because in those plants, you'll see the medicine, you'll see the food that we need for survival, and you'll see the animals that require all of this to work in a good way. And so as we look at this beautiful land, we think about our mother, the earth, and how she's never lost her responsibility to look after all those that walk on the earth. We call her mother because she does all those things that a mother would do. She will give medicine and food and water and comfort and allow for us to build our homes. And with that, we look to the trees that grow on Mother Earth. And at one point in my life, I remember noticing the trees and how important they are. When I'd look at a tree, I would look up and watch the branches reaching up to the heavens. And it's almost like they're praying to Creator. And when I think about those trees, how they're in purpose, their purpose is to help us survive. They'll cleanse the air for us. They'll give us wood for our fires. They'll give us medicine within the bark that they have, and they'll give us the lifeblood of those trees when it comes to maple syrup and other uh, saps that come out of those trees for purposes. We would use some of it to put our canoes together, and that would hold it just like would in today's world glue would do. So we had all the natural elements in that tree. And the leaves, they would give us the beautiful wisdom of the coming of the year. As the spring comes, the leaves will show us that we're moving into another period of time. And this month in particular, it's the strawberry moon. We call it a very important part of the new beginning of the year. The first medicine will be the strawberries. And so if you ever notice in June, you'll see the strawberries, the wild strawberries start to grow. And we know that's our first medicine. And we take that medicine and we eat it. And we make sure that it gives us the medicine that we need within our body. And so the trees help us with that understanding. And then at one point, we get a chance to look beyond the trees. We actually get to see the beautiful sky that is blue, and sometimes it holds the clouds of rain. Sometimes the thunder and lightning comes from that being above the trees. And we'll think about the power that this universe carries. It kind of puts us in our place as human beings. We know we're smart, but we also know we need to have that strength of the world around us to survive. And so when I started looking at the thunders when they came in the spring, it told us that there's a power that comes from the heavens that we know will help us understand things more importantly. Then when the clouds left, what I seen in the evening was those beautiful stars. And if you ever want to know history or you want to know your future, it's all written in those stars. Our ancestors are in the stars. They tell us about our clans and about our observations about the seasons that we live in and how important it is for us to know these stories. And one day, those stars inspired Indigenous people to tell the stories and put it on to the rock that we have here in parts of the region of Ontario over to Minnesota and all over to the Atlantic coast. You'll see the petroglyphs. And those stories on the petroglyphs talk about the heavens and the stars and our teachings that we're supposed to keep. The interesting thing about that is in those days when they put those petroglyphs on the stone, there was no technology that they have today to make sure those stains stayed on the rock. But they developed something very important. They learned how to use the natural elements to put a stain that would last for hundreds of years. And now if you go to the petroglyphs, you might not know the stories until you get a chance to speak with some of the knowledge keepers. They'll tell you what those stories are about and how connected they are to the star world. And so when I look at the star world today, I'm honored and I'm thankful for what I've learned and what they teach me every single day and how we can formulate our future together in balance. And if today's topic, is about well-being, good mental health, and trying to work in a better capacity, it's around us in the stars, the water, the trees, the land, and ultimately that great vision, the birds that we know as the thunderbird, the highest flying bird, the one that we don't even see on this earth, but tells us that they're there. through those thunders that come to the earth. And we know how important it is for us to know these stories because the elders at one point during a period of colonization to Turtle Island or North America, we we didn't feel that our stories were being honored. And so the elders decided to go to sleep for a while. They decided that if our stories aren't going to be told and honored, then we won't tell them. And when that happened during the time that they were sleeping, we seen changes that came, such as climate change. We seen a change of our calendar, which should include 13 moons, which is now 12. So we use a 12-month calendar, and that got changed during the time of their sleeping. And then the wars started breaking out. Started seeing uh, changes to mentality that created animosity throughout the world, and wars began. And at that time, the elders said, we need to wake up and we need to tell our story because the traditional stories that we have will get us back in biorhythm with the earth, will alleviate some of the displeasantries that we see in the world today. The climate change will start to slow its process. The wars will no longer be as they are today. And so as we come together again with the stories, we'll know our place in society. We'll be able to remind our next generation and 7 generations to come that these stories that are written in the stars, in the water, the trees, the land, will always keep our balance. And when I think about mental health, if we can put that all into perspective by this fire, we could feel that the strength of who we are doesn't have to be all the same because we label mental health sometimes in a particular way. But the elders used to say, if somebody was a little bit different, it means they had special gifts. And sometimes they were the medicine people. Sometimes they were the ones who did the naming ceremonies. They were the ones who we went to when we felt unwell. And they would know how the medicines work. They would know how to help us and guide us to a better way of thinking. And so that's how the elders used to think about some of our special people that had those special gifts. And now that we know the beginning of how our earth, our Mother Earth, um, relates to us, I think we can now build within ourselves that fire that gives us a chance to explore better existence for all generations and all people on this earth. As long as we live in good coexistence with the animals, the water, the fire, the trees, the leaves, the stars, and all the other entities within this world. And so, wherever you are in the country, wherever you find your comfort, please feel that when you do, that's where you'll find the healing that we will always share to those who need it. And those that work in the field of mental health, you in particular, um, we build this fire for you too, because the strength that you need to do the work that you do requires support from not just humans, but with the earth around us. And what we'll do is we'll keep this fire going throughout the whole 2 days. And then tomorrow we'll come back and we'll extinguish that fire and let people go to their homes with the new knowledge that they've gained. But anytime you ever need to remind yourself of what you learned, take some tobacco and put it in that fire that was built for you. And then those stories will come back to you and that knowledge will come back to you. And it sometimes when you need it to help others, it'll be there for you. It's just a matter of reaching for it and having this beautiful life grow in the best way possible. So I hope I won't be in presence of you throughout the 2 days, but I'll be here with spirit and I'll maintain that fire for you until we come back tomorrow. And at the end of the day, we'll extinguish that fire in that way. So I just wanted to share that with you this morning. Think about the beautiness that life really is and how important it is for us to feel that love and wealth of being together. So with that said, my language would say Chimigwech, thank you very much. And it's been an honor to spend the beginning of this day with you. Aho Miigwech.
Miigwech, Elder Henry, and thank you so much for that beautiful message and connecting us with nature and for lighting the fire and for opening our event in a good way and for creating a space in our hearts and our heads for learning and listening. So really appreciate you being here. And we look forward to seeing you again at the end to close our event in a good way and to extinguish that fire. So thank you so much.
Take care, everybody.
Sure. Today, we also extend a warm welcome and a heartfelt thank you to our partners at the Public Health Agency of Canada and the Canadian Institutes of Health Research. Your continued support has made this symposium possible and sustains vital mental health promotion projects in communities across this country. As we're opening our symposium in the month of June, we're mindful that it is Pride Month, a time to honor the strength, the diversity, the contributions of 2S LGBTQIA+ communities. And Pride reminds us of the ongoing work that is needed to advance equity, to ensure safety and inclusion for all, and invites us to reflect on how our collective efforts, whether in research, in policy, or practice, can support the well-being and the dignity of 2S LGBTQIA+ individuals in every space that we shape.
So before we start our program, I'd like to take a minute just to situate the theme of our annual symposium, Changing Landscapes. Our theme really speaks to the world around us, as Elder Henry just so beautifully pointed out, and to the role that each of us play in shaping it. So why the word landscapes? Well, landscapes can be thought of as systems, spaces, structures that inform and shape our mental health. This could be in our schools, our workplaces, our communities, and the cultural narratives that influence the mental health of infants, children, youth, and adults. Some of these landscapes are rich with connection, resources, and possibility.
Landscapes are not fixed. Rather, they're living, they're evolving, and they're influenced by our actions and our choices. As such, changing landscapes becomes a call to action. A call to reshape the soil of systems and settings to uproot inequities, to nurture partnerships and practices that foster belonging, culture, safety, and emotional safety. It reminds us that landscapes are not only observed, they can be cultivated and transformed. And each of us, in our own unique way, is a landscape changer. Over the next 2 afternoons, we'll warmly welcome our participants, and at the heart of this gathering, we'll spotlight 20 federally funded projects through the Public Health Agency of Canada's Mental Health Promotion Innovation Fund and the Canadian Institute of Health Research Mental Health in the Early Years, a 5-year initiative. These initiatives represent a national commitment to upstream, equity-driven, and culturally sensitive mental health promotion. These projects' work stretches across the mental health promotion landscape. Some of these projects include infant and early childhood, youth engagement, Indigenous health, intersectionality, culturally rooted approaches, school-based programming, and digital innovation, just to mention a few. Together, they are mapping new routes across diverse sectors, bringing health, education, social services, and policy first into dialogue and then into action. Taken together, they form a living map of what's possible when we center health equity, partnerships, and upstream thinking. As the host of this symposium, the KDE Hub is proud to support this growing field, connecting people, connecting practices, and knowledge to help promising ideas take root. As a university-based knowledge development and exchange hub established by the Public Health Agency of Canada, we work with intention to foster learning, to amplify promising practice, practices and to support the growth of a Canadian mental health promotion field from coast to coast to coast that is dynamic, inclusive, and grounded in evidence and community experience. Today's program explores how community leadership, cross-sector collaboration, and culturally grounded approaches are advancing mental health promotion across Canada. Dr. Kate Mulligan will open with a keynote on key systemic levers for transformative impact. Following this, we'll engage in 2 concurrent panel discussions, one focusing on protective factors across childhood and adolescence, and the other examining the power of community-led approaches. We'll close with a presentation by Leanne Carley on building intersectoral partnerships and the vital role of local governments in supporting the mental health of our youngest citizens. As we begin, we encourage you to engage in conversations today and the relationships we nurture going forward. Thank you for being present, for continuing to doing the work of changing landscapes with intention and with care and with each other.